The national political spotlight remains fixed on Donald Trump, as developments across legal, political, economic, and diplomatic fronts keep the country riveted. In the latest cycle of appearances, statements, and strategy shifts, Trump's team has worked to convert high-intensity media moments into sustained momentum, combining large rallies, targeted messaging, and an organized field operation aimed at voter turnout. Whether viewed as a resurgent political brand or a polarizing force, Trump's activities set the daily agenda in Washington and beyond. At the center of his messaging today is a tightly framed promise: restore economic confidence for working families while tightening national security. On the stump, Trump mixes populist language about everyday costs and opportunities with concrete policy proposals aimed at manufacturing, energy, and trade. He emphasizes tax relief targeted at middle-income households, incentives to bring industry back to American towns, and a deregulatory push meant to speed domestic energy projects. These proposals are pitched not merely as big national plans but as local solutions: factory reopenings, infrastructure contracts, and tax savings promoted to voters in key counties. Border security continues to be a pillar of his platform. Trump's rhetoric is uncompromising: strong enforcement, expedited processing for asylum claims that meet strict criteria, and renewed emphasis on physical and technological barriers. This framing plays especially well in suburban and exurban precincts where safety and fiscal concerns are top of mind. He presents border policy not as an abstract immigration debate but as a practical issue tied to jobs, community resources, and public safety. Meanwhile, legal questions that follow Trump remain a prominent backdrop. Multiple court proceedings, filings, and procedural skirmishes produce constant headlines. The campaign has incorporated legal developments into its narrative, characterizing many of the proceedings as politically motivated while emphasizing due process and legal defense. That narrative fuels small donation fundraising and local volunteer mobilization, rallies outside courthouses, legal defense fundraising appeals, and a steady stream of content designed to maintain engagement even as legal calendars progress. On foreign policy, Trump continues to advocate a transactional approach. He presses allies on burden sharing, urges tougher trade terms for perceived adversaries, and stresses the need for quick, decisive action where U.S. interests are at stake. These broad themes are packaged into targeted messages for veteran, communities, and industrial workers who equate geopolitical strength with economic protection. International observers watch closely. Policy signaling by Trump frequently leads allied capitals to quietly reassess contingency plans and market participants to reprice risk in specific sectors. The media environment around Trump is unusually efficient at amplifying short bursts into longer narratives. A single line from a rally can cascade into hours of cable discussion, social media virality, and a flurry of opinion pieces. Trump's communications team crafts clips with social distribution in mind: sound bites for feeds, shareable moments for supporters, and provocative leads that force opponents into immediate response. That dynamic guarantees that even routine campaign activities become national conversation drivers. Behind the public theater is a sophisticated ground operation. Campaign data teams are refining micro-targeting in battleground precincts, using analytics to identify persuadable suburban households and to optimize turnout efforts. Local organizers report intensified door-to-door outreach, relational organizing through community networks, and scalable GOTV, get out the vote, pushes as Election Day approaches. Fundraising is dual-track. Marquee donors underwrite high-impact spends, while persistent small-dollar contributions fund continuous digital ads and grassroots activity. Political consequences extend across party lines. Within the Republican fold, leaders are calculating, some double down and embrace Trump's priorities publicly, while others keep a distance to preserve long-term institutional credibility. Democratic strategists view the moment as a rallying call, galvanize turnout among oppositional bases, sharpen contrasts on governance and democratic norms, and push persuasion messages to the narrow band of swing voters. The net result is heightened intensity on both sides, and a campaign environment that prizes speed, discipline, and narrative control. Cultural issues also play a major role in Trump's strategy. Education debates, public safety initiatives, and national symbols are repeatedly elevated as wedge topics to mobilize suburban parents and working-class voters. These items often become the proximate local flashpoints, school board meetings, municipal law and order proposals, and state legislative fights, which, in turn, feed national talking points and digital ad cycles. Polls paint a complex picture. Core support for Trump remains strong. Turnout metrics in key counties indicate energized volunteers and healthy, small donation inflows. However, the persuadable center remains fluid. Economic indicators, local issues, or new legal developments can move margins in tight races. Analysts caution that while momentum metrics, rallies, fundraising surges, volunteer signups are favorable, the durability of that momentum depends on consistent messaging and the avoidance of self-inflicted crises. Markets and business leaders are also attuned. Some sectors respond positively to promises of deregulation and energy expansion, while others express concern over abrupt trade stance changes and geopolitical friction. Corporate analysis teams are running scenario planning exercises based on different policy cues, and investors adjust exposures when commentary signals sharp policy swings. For communities dependent on manufacturing and energy, the promise of renewed investment resonates strongly, provided those promises lead to concrete contracts and local economic activity. Grassroots civic engagement has surged. Nonpartisan voter drives, local issue campaigns, and civic forums reflect a population activated beyond social feeds. Registration campaigns report renewed interest, and local campaigns on both sides are beefing up field capacity. This on-the-ground activity suggests that organizational strength, not only message virality, will be decisive in many close races. Operational risks are real and varied. Legal entanglements can consume time, redirect resources, and create unpredictable narrative junctures. Policy missteps, inconsistent messaging, or mismanaged appearances risk eroding narrow margins among centrists. International incidents, market shocks, or unexpected legislative battles could reroute public attention and create new battlegrounds. Yet the campaign's core resilience, turning controversy into engagement and funding, has repeatedly allowed it to adapt. Looking ahead, watch for a set of decisive inflection points, targeted policy rollouts designed to deliver local economic impact, ad campaigns with micro-targeted messaging in suburban precincts, endorsement dynamics that either consolidate or splinter elite support, and legal timelines that alter campaign tempo. Each of these elements, legal, organizational, media, and policy, will interact to determine whether current energy translates into sustained electoral advantage. The bottom line for voters and institutions is simple. The political moment is less about single events and more about an ecosystem. Trump has built a feedback loop that channels national attention into fundraising, field operations, and media dominance. Whether that loop converts into governance or further polarization will depend on how campaign strategy, legal realities, and voter reaction align over the coming months. From campaign trails to court steps, from local factories to global capitals, this story remains the nation's primary political narrative. Donald Trump's presence is not a transient headline, it is the axis around which the current political season turns, forcing every actor in American public life to respond and adapt.